Ever wondered what it's like to work in the apparel and fashion industry in Chicago? How a designer started their brand? Or what a production workroom looks like? Then join us as we go for a visit. Today we're visiting with Jenna Blazevich of Vichcraft.
Hi! Welcome to my studio. Come on in. Vichcraft is my business here in Chicago. I've been running it since the end of 2014. I have a storefront space in Albany Park, and that's where I'm able to do on-site chain stitching, but it also sort of acts as a gallery space for the work that I've made over the last several years. I started Vichcraft officially at the end of 2014. I've sort of looked at January 1st of 2015 as the exact date that I sort of launched it online. But since this year is my 10th anniversary of being open, I'm sort of wanting to focus more on when I was doing my quiet reveal, where things were online, but I hadn't debuted it yet, because I would love to have some sort of a party or some sort of a show, and I'm not doing that on January 1st. So yeah, that's officially when things kind of started, but things were quietly happening. I was working out of a space, just kind of getting the ball rolling at the end of 2014. I mean, since I started, my business has grown a lot in ways that are very specific to what success means to me, which when I started, I didn't know if one day Vichcraft would be the kind of studio that I would kind of become the creative director, and I would have other designers working with me and kind of create a studio and a space where there's multiple people working. I've learned through just kind of experiencing what works well for me that that's not how I personally view success for myself and my business. My growth has been being able to widen my skill set and be mindful of how what kinds of projects I take on and what kinds of projects I decide to turn down. And I like the idea of keeping things small and not having to shift focus away from making my work and into being more of a manager of sorts. Over the years, there've been little kind of opportunities to learn, like, is this what I want to do more of, and do a little bit of it and realize, oh, that's not what I prefer to do, and kind of create a more thoughtful set of circumstances for myself that make me excited for what I can do in the future. I don't think this is what I imagined. I'm thrilled with where I've ended up at this point, but I don't think that I definitely didn't think that I would be able to have a space where I'm able to interact with people in a public facing way, and be able to show my work and create things on the spot for people. It's really important to me to be woven into the Chicago creative community in that way, and be accessible and be present in a way that I'm able to use to collaborate with other people. I am a pretty private person, so it's funny to think that I've created this situation for myself where all of my most important pieces that I've made are on public display, and I am allowing people to come in and see them and be critical of them and have whatever thoughts about them. So I don't think I ever would have thought that I would be in this situation, versus one where I'm more protected by some umbrella of Vichcraft is a practice of multiple people. So yeah, I like what's possible because I am just myself, but it's also a pretty vulnerable position to be in, to be like, yeah, it's just me, you're looking at me, I did it. I wear a lot of hats. I mean, I wear all the hats. So anytime I'm making something, I'm the person who is contacted about the opportunity in the first place. So I continue to obviously have to be on with the emailing and the back and forth, and then I'm the one who's negotiating if it is a project that I'm being commissioned to make and have to figure out whatever that timeline I'm proposing is. And I'm obviously making the piece itself. I'm the one who's like schlepping my machine. If I'm going to an event, I'm the one who's driving the Astro van with my whole setup and figuring out, moving things in and out of a space, setting it up, servicing it when inevitably something goes wrong. I'm also like the talent, the entertainment at an event, where I'm like, yeah, I had to figure out orchestrating getting there and accepting going to the event and all of that. But I'm also the person who's like talking, explaining the machine, being like kind of, on the spot. But also when I'm making things for my shop, I'm doing the design work and the production work most of the time. If it is most of the products that I make, I'm able to make myself and then ship them out here. I'm customer service too, and then I'm social media manager too, queen of the content, and all the other things in between. So yeah, I think at any given time there's like 10 hats, depending on the type of day. And yeah, sometimes other hats have to come up where it's like, oh, all of a sudden I need to figure this out too. Or I'm also a person, so those are some of the hats because I have to feed myself and, be a good friend, be a good partner. It's a lot. I mean, I know that every solo entrepreneur would say that, but it is a lot when you really spell it out. Yeah. I think I've figured out the ideal setup, and this is pretty close to it. I think it's great that I have my machine set up here that I don't need to disrupt to go do events. I figured that out way later than I should have. That I bought a smaller table that I just always have ready to go for traveling. I used to take this big table out the front door. It's like, why am I doing that? One thing I wish I had here is a photo setup, like something even just like a seamless, something even small that I could take good quality photos of my things that I'm making for people, especially the ones that I'm making on a commission basis before I ship them out. Because sometimes I make something that I'm really proud of, but it's a gloomy day or my phone's on the fritz, and then I'm like, well, it's as if this never happened because I never got a photo of it, and then now it's in someone else's hands. So I wish there was kind of a space for that, maybe one day, but I would need the lights, and I clearly painted this place black, so not super ideal for lighting my work naturally. So I don't know, I've taken care of most of the day-to-day needs, but it's nice to stay a little bit flexible and figure out things as I'm kind of going through the months in this space. After doing probably like 50 events, I finally put together an event kit. Prior to that, I would just be like, oh yeah, probably like some scissors and like a water bottle or whatever. And then inevitably something would go wrong, and I'd be like, why didn't I bring pliers? There's stuff I need. So I put together a kit, it was such a nice like act of care for myself. To be like, yeah, maybe it's nice to have a Cliff Bar. Maybe it's nice to have chapstick or, a phone charger. So that really changed how I'm able to just quickly shift from working here and then, being able to be like, I need to be at an event in an hour. I know what I need. It's already ready to go. My favorite part of the space definitely is my the windows, the storefront windows that my best friend Shelby Rodifer, who used to be based here in Chicago, but now she's based in Louisville. She's a very talented sign painter. She and I collaborated on the windows. I did the lettering and the design work for her to paint and do the gilding and abalone inlays, and it came together really beautifully. And we also made there's a design for my V logo in the front door that has feathers from my pet birds that they've molted, and that's kind of like inlaid into the logo, and everything came together in kind of like a magnum opus Shelby Jenna project kind of way. It looks really amazing. It came together really beautifully, so definitely my favorite part. Since I do a lot of different things, pricing sort of is something I need to tend to on a project by project basis a lot of the time. In the store and at events, I've figured out through a lot of trial and error and experiences that charging $30 for a word or a name of chain stitch works well. And for events, I figured out an hourly rate that works well for when bigger companies want to have me out to have chain stitching be complimentary for people. Generally, if it's a larger project, I'll ask for 50% up front. For events, it's usually being paid like the day of. Sometimes it'll be a company that it's their policy because they're an agency that works for a big brand and they have to be net 30 or whatever the case is. Everything is kind of different. But for a bigger project where I'm working directly with someone, I like to ask for 50% up front because it covers material costs, it covers the time that it takes to sketch the design or whatever the case is, and then the other 50% when I'm delivering them the item. So for determining cost, it depends. If it's something like chain stitching, it's not so much the actual consumables because thread is pretty inexpensive in the grand scheme of things. But what's going into it is more so the years of mastering the machine, the ability to work quickly, the ability to be attentive with figuring out negotiations and managing expectations. That's all factoring in when I'm advocating for myself and what my output is, factoring in 10 plus years of design experience and lettering experience that goes into creating the design that is then chain stitched. So that's unique in the way that I'm factoring in those things when I'm pricing. I hate pricing. It's my least favorite part of my job. But, that's how this train keeps running. Primary means of communication with clients is email. Although I do not love it, that's my preferred way of communicating because I help people come into my DMs on Instagram or I don't know, sometimes even a text message if it's someone who's worked with me in the past and they give my information to someone else. But it's the only way to keep things organized for me is to shuffle those people toward an email so that I can flag those things that I need to tend to. Yeah, I have definitely those canned responses and Instagram DMs when someone's like, I want a jacket for my wedding. And I'm like, canned response, please use the form on my website to get yourself into my email so that we can organize it. That's what works best. For bigger projects, sometimes people will come in and they'll say like, oh, how do I work with you on making a banner like this? And I will say essentially the same thing. There is a form on my website for custom projects that I'll just still have them fill out because I don't like to like figure out the parameters of a project or especially not the pricing on the spot. It almost always comes out being the case where I'm like not charging enough or they don't know exactly what they want and then later on they're like, oh, but I want it to be 4 colors. And then it's like, well, then it's going to cost more. And there's just like a lot of room for miscommunication unless they're typing out exactly what it is. They include a date that they need it by if that applies and a budget that they might have. It's just so much easier. So if someone comes in and they have like a jacket ready to give to me, I know maybe not the best on their end, but I'm like, keep the jacket. I don't want like a backlog of miscellaneous projects that I'm not even sure if I'm doing. Like I literally already have enough going on back there. So I say the form is the way to go. Went to the bathroom and anyone was like, oh, Jenna's up, I would start sobbing apparently because I'd be like, don't look at me yet, I'm not ready. Like a fear of being perceived. Like I need to be ready to be like, and I'm awake now.
But like that's such a thing though, to have to be on for other people.
I don't, that's right? Not, because some people are just like, yeah, here I am, I love being around people, I love being asked these, I love to be in these, like I've made some of these bigger pieces for shows and the idea of going and being present at the show is like my worst nightmare.
Yeah, and having to talk to people like you've never met before.
Yes, and like not defend, but like speak on behalf of the work. Like I want to be thoughtful about making it and then make it and then be like, shouldn't that be enough?
Right?
But it's
no, and then
kind of-
you have to have a conversation about it and like drag it all out again and again. So
What am
thank
I
you
saying?
for talking to
No,
us.
and not in an interview sense. More so in the, like when people come in, they're like, tell me about the bullet thing. And I'm like, I already did that 700 times. Like, I don't know how to explain it again. Yeah, I don't know. So it's interesting that I like made a business that's like, it's Jenna.